Happy Mars
So,
retrograde. Here we go.
yeah, we talked about that. I was saying to Virgo, you may not be hearing Virgo all over the internet and all over transit videos, but please don't forget that you're squaring the Jupiter in Pisces that just went retrograde. You're squaring the Mars retrograde, and you're trining this November 8th eclipse.
Mhm.
So you are very much a player on the board, especially Virgo rising. Some for depending on where that is, that Pisces Jupiter is gonna probably be in your seventh house, unless you know it's in your sixth. But at some point, it will be in your seventh house. So lots going on for all the signs. So I have Connie Jo here this morning
And
to
I have
talk.
my cat Lucy knocking stuff over.
Oh,
So
Nikki was doing that before, but now he's sleeping. Um, so we're here on Halloween very purposely. Uh, Connie Jo touched on this on our Friday night Halloween special we did for Soul Navigation. If you didn't go watch that, please go watch that. She is all dressed up, and as one commenter said, made a very epic entrance, which I agree. Onto the scene on Friday night, you were referred to as epic, Connie Jo.
oh
So
my gosh.
if you haven't watched that, please do. But we Connie Jo touched on the veil being thin. And so I'm going to give her the floor so she can talk more about that.
Well, I don't think that it's a coincidence that other cultures, Mexico, the Celtics, um, Venezuela, there's more. They all celebrate Halloween in a very different way than we do here in the United States. There's Samhain, there's All Souls Day, and it's because that they believe that this is the day that they can connect with their deceased loved ones. That the veil is very thin on Halloween and also on November 1st. So I was checking it out because I wanted to see is there a real reason for this, but it does have something to do with the being right in between the autumn solstice, the autumn equinox, and the winter solstice. That's kind of what the deal is. It's like right in the middle, and it's right when Scorpio is doing its thing. So, what does Scorpio do? It dies. It's represented by the death card and then comes back to life. So, all of these cultures believe that this is the time that you can really connect with people that have passed on because the veil is thin. And, I have to think that there's something to it and that they're right, that the veil really does get thinner and gifts become more prominent. And we're able to see into the spirit world just a little bit more clearly at this time of year. So I would invite everybody to listen to Susie's tips on connecting to the spirit side, connecting to your own spirit and your own guides. And then in that way, you can connect with the guides of those who have passed and your passed on loved ones. And it's really pretty beautiful.
Mhm. So let's expand upon the term the veil is thin. I know what I mean when I say the veil. And I talk about this in reference to Pisces all the time, but what do you mean when you say what are you referring to as the veil?
Well, I do believe that there's a veil, like a curtain between the living and the dead. Now, the thing is, we're all spirits, we're all souls, right? So when I say the veil is thin, I believe that's when we're able to see into the spirit world just a little bit more clearly. I mean, there's times when we feel like we're beating our head against the wall trying to connect to spirit or our guides or our passed on loved ones. But this is the time of year when it becomes easier. It just becomes easier to connect. It's like that curtain slides back just enough where the connection can be there in a much easier way.
Yeah, I think, when I think about the veil, I think about, and it's so funny because I think for all the signs, the veil can seem like such an odd abstract concept for a fixed sign or an earth sign. And for a Pisces, they're like, yeah, it's always a veil. What are you talking about? And I always reference that scene, and I apologize for my non-nerds, but I always reference the scene from Harry Potter when Sirius is killed by Bellatrix, and he just kind of falls into something that looks like a veil. It's almost like a fog, a smoke, but it's this definite kind of veil where he just falls over from the 3D into the 5D,
Yeah.
and out of his body into spirit. And so for me, it is the difference between the 3D and the 5-dimensional. One of the first things that I think somebody should learn, that I did not learn until it was much further into my awakening and also into my practice, because we don't gatekeep here, is that sometimes when people are trying to like call down spirit, call down their guides, that is not where they're doing their best work. You have the ability to kind of like open up and push the light, if you think about your chakras, your soul is just kind of encased. We are souls that have bodies, not bodies that have souls. If you say that to yourself again and again until you understand it and it just becomes an understanding rather than a thought, we are souls that have bodies. This is just the case that it came in this lifetime around. And so if you think about all the energy that your soul contains, it contains more than just this lifetime. And if you think about pushing out your energy to where your guides are in the 5D, that may seem crazy. That may seem like I'm not that powerful. You are. You are as powerful as you think that Connie Jo is, or that I am, or anyone. Everyone holds that capability, and that's really and let us know if you want this to be a series, because I think this, like, learning your gifts, I think is a really fun series to have. But you want your guides to stay in the 5D. That's where they're doing. You don't want to call them in. It's almost like putting that I was like fighting with my hands tied behind my back. Or Captain Marvel nerding out again when they have the little thing on the back of her neck so she doesn't have full access to her powers. You don't want to do that. You want to the TV just turned on when we're talking about
saw that. Wow.
So your guides are your team. That is the dream team. They are with you all the time. You're kind of never alone. How do you feel about that, Connie Jo?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're always with us. They're always accessible.
Mhm.
It's us in our bodies, in our 3D bodies, that they don't have a problem. It's us being able to tune in to them because they're always there. And you know what, Susie, I wanted to say this. There is a scientific reason for this, and forgive me, I'm not as nerdy as Susie. She may actually know the scientific reason. But when you go under anesthesia, if you're having surgery, um, a lot of times before you wake up or while you're there, it's because of the part of our brain that they put under. You're actually, the veil is thinner then. And I know a couple of you in the chat that I've talked to have had this experience where you feel like that you were able to access the 5D or the other world while you were under anesthesia. And there really is a scientific reason for it. And it's because you really let go of that conscious part of you that keeps you from being able to walk into that space, that spiritual place where your guides are always there.
Yes.
Help me out with that. I don't know what the
Well, I just want to say, like, because I don't believe in like stealing other people's catchphrases or anything else. One of the people that I've personally worked with and I think is amazing, her name is Cat and Boots. She's on here, and it's Cat with a K, and it's not end, it's N. Cat in Boots. She's on TikTok and wherever else, and she always say humans are so much more than we have been taught. We are capable of so much more, and that, you know, she and I believe this. So sometimes I work with clients when they have not nice entities around them, or things that are bothering them, are kind of in between, don't realize they can leave a space, what have you. And I want to help clients to know how to have that process themselves so that they could kind of cleanse their energy or get rid of things that are kind of hanging on to them at all times. And once in a blue moon, something kind of, we'll just call it, follows me home. And they will show up. And because I am a Cancer, they will show up in dream state. And one of the things I'm so grateful to know is that if people are afraid of kind of crossing that bridge, going into that veil, what they might find, please understand that there is nothing more powerful than you. If there is something in your presence and you don't want it in presence, quite frankly, tell it to get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
And you are the scariest. We've all seen pictures of biblically accurate angels with the 12 eyes and the scary wings, right? But there is nothing more scary to anything that you think is scary on the other side than you understanding your power as a human. You are in the driver's seat. You have the dashboard. You press all the buttons. I want to manifest this. I want to pull in this energy. Think like, oh, nothing ever works out for me, and then nothing ever works out. Like we have so much more power, and that I feel like is the first thing to understand, to not feel like you're helpless, like you are only as able to connect as your guides would favor you to be, or the spirits would favor you to be, or the gods, like whatever you liked. If you have an altar or whatever, I don't love hierarchy. And while it's always good, I believe that we have to work within our ethics to have our gifts at their best, but we're not beholden or controlled by another entity as to whether we have gifts or not. That is really, it starts in our own belief. Now listen, sometimes you have people who are just so naturally gifted, like Connie Jo. And sometimes for some of you, it's very available. It's been available since childhood, and nothing came in and shut it down.
That's such a good point about childhood too, Susie, because children will often see angels. They see passed on loved ones. They see into
Past
the 5D
lives.
so easily all the time. And it's because no one's told them that it's wrong or they can't. No one's
Right,
told
because
them.
we expect children to imagine things.
Mm-hmm. So when
I have a theory that all children's imaginary friends are actually just some kind of leftover, either a spirit or a leftover entity that has been materialized in the form of,
or even one of their spirit guides,
Mm-hmm.
could be that imaginary friend. I just love it now that I've talked to so many people that they're not squelching that in their kids. They're letting it be and
Yes.
encouraging it. And I keep seeing this over and over again. This younger generation is amazing
Yes.
because they're actually empowering their children and
Mhm.
saying, yeah, it's cool. They're not telling them it's wrong. And I love that because those kids actually, they're connecting already because they weren't told they couldn't.
Yeah, and having astrology sessions for parents to understand their children better,
Mm-hmm.
and especially having people say, "Hey, my 2-year-old is saying this," and like I think that's so beautiful and so open and just we're gonna make this a series, so maybe we'll get into like the waves of volunteers whole philosophy. But I think sometimes that generation, the younger generation of Generation X, um, and the millennials and the zillennials can sometimes feel like they're stumbling as parents or they have some gifts. Uh, but I think part of the beautiful, beautiful progression of watching the planet lift and watching the facades fall of how we're less powerful than we are is that group of parents that are raising this next generation. And I want to say that, like, if you don't think you're as gifted or you feel like, well, maybe I'm not as special because I can't do all those things or I can't help people, if you are helping to raise that other generation, I promise you, you have such a vital, honored part of the raising of the vibration for sure. Connie Jo, how do you feel about like how your gifts came in? Because she and I have very different gifts. Our gifts come in differently in a session. All so it's not always going to look the same. But I would love for Connie Jo, who has clear audience and clairvoyance as her strongest. Everybody has all of them, but those are her strongest, her most easily accessible. Um,
Well, I think I can relate to what I was saying about the childhood thing a lot because as a child, I felt like God was with me all the time. I just always felt like that. I really did. I felt like that I could just talk, talk to God, all the time. And I always had dreams, always, always heard things, always knew things. Um, and not to discourage anyone, but a lot of the things I knew were actually not good things, but I was able to avoid things that I think other people went through because I had that feeling or that knowing inside. And then I'm just going to be real honest with you guys. Religion from my upbringing came in, and I was told it was wrong, not wrong to talk to God, but wrong to see ghosts or wrong to listen to my intuition. And um, so it's like it took me, it was my Uranus opposition that stepped in, and I knew that everything I'd been taught to believe, even though there might have been a teeny bit of truth to some of it, like be good to your neighbor kind of thing. But everything I was taught to believe, I knew was a falsehood. Did it take me a while to get out of that? So it started for me with astrology because that was something concrete that I could really relate to. And then the other gifts I had, um, they I was open to them again and I was able to access them again in an easier way. But I will say that I think that religion, organized religion, I'm not speaking against it, y'all. Everybody needs to believe what they believe, but I'm just saying that was what did it for me. That's what being told that I was talking to demons or something like that.
mhm.
You know, the religious stuff is what actually
Worked
turned
as a
my
block to a little bit.
blocked
So
my
I just want to say this. I think that deconstruction, whether you are deconstructing an organized religion that made you feel evil, bad, wrong, Disobedience is normally the undertone of all of it. Or whether you have to deconstruct New Age spirituality, because there's a lot of stuff and there's a lot of people hopping on a lot of bandwagons. Listen, a different system works for different people. Different people who are working within ethical standards and within their own practice practice differently, and that part's all okay. But having somebody tell you that like you're limited, or there's you even have to deconstruct some of the new spirituality. You have to There's deconstruction to be done in our thoughts. We touched in Virgo on people were, I was saying, I want to do a show on laziness and how that's a puritanical, patriarchal, a capitalist construct that wants us to work 70 hours a week, lest we feel like we're not contributing to society. But that has also some really bad connotations. It's tied to racism. Like there are just a lot of human constructs. There are a lot of thought processes we were handed to and told that if we didn't believe that, we were disobedient and we were wrong. And so deconstruction, I don't think applies just to organized. I think that there's lots of stuff we can deconstruct.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you. So I don't I think that deconstruction is kind of important as we open gifts. But I'm thinking today, while we have the veil open, should we just give them a few simple exercises to like harness your team?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay. So we're not saying that if you cannot, because like Connie Jo can hear what I was referring to as our gifts being different. Connie Jo can hear and see, and I know and I feel, and I also smell, which is, I don't know how useful that's been, but I have the thing where I can smell very strong smells when I know it's nowhere around me. And that happens a lot for me for crossed over people, or people who just aren't in my, I can smell somebody's skin from 1,000 miles away. You know, I don't use it that often in my practice, but um, one of the things that I think is really helpful for everyone is, and we're not saying by the end of today you can have full communication with crossed over loved ones, but the way we do things is different. We don't, you know, back in the 70s, we were told if we had to have a seance, you had to have a Ouija board, and all of those things. And so what? And I think that the idea of like ask to see a blue feather, ask, or then if you see anything that's blue and furry, that counts. There are much simpler things that I can do. I don't think it has to be that difficult. So I would just invite everybody to take a deep breath in. And when you do that, I want you to like think about filling your belly and taking a deep, relaxing breath in through the nose, and take about at least 6 seconds to take that breath in. So let's do that together. And then release. And this next breath, when you take it in, I want you to imagine just like your heart space, your chest area, that fourth chakra, that center. Your heart is neutral. It's not masculine or feminine. Your heart is neutral. I want you to feel like that is filling up with light. As you breathe in, just imagine whatever color light, it's fine. And then you're just going to imagine taking the energy and pushing it up out of your scalp, out of your crown chakra, out of your head. Now, if you've been watching other people and you think at this point the angels should be appearing, you should be hearing audible things in your head, that things should vibrate. None of that has to happen. You're connected. It's done. You're connected. The music doesn't have to play. The angels don't have to appear. You can see things in your head with your eyes open. And if you can't, you can't. You're still connected. You can hear songs playing if you know the lyrics in your head. And if you can't, you
Yeah.
can't. You're still connected. Everyone now is connected. Now I want you to understand that you have a team, and each team member has their job. You'll have one guide that kind of stays with you for all the lifetimes, the main guide. But then you have other people that come and go through different parts of your life, and they all have different jobs. And they are bored. Give them a job to do. So I want you to think about the fact that there's somebody on your team that helps you connect across over loved ones. Somebody that helps you viscerally feel within your body physical confirmations of your connection, of your message. Claircognizance is it's a sticky one because most people have claircognizance also tend to have a fair amount of intelligence, so they know shit. you know and so you're thinking, do I know this because I know this, or is this a download?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ask your guide that to come in that helps you clarify physical confirmation. Physical confirmation is one of the best things for all the gifts, but especially if you have clear cognizance and you're like, I'm not sure if that's a download. I don't want to give somebody advice. If you are reading tarot, if you are reluctant to help guide other people because you're like, I don't want to give somebody a message that's not real and I
Mm-hmm.
need to check it, ask your guide who is in charge, universe, spirits, and guides, however you want to address them. Whichever one of you is in charge of giving me physical confirmation when I have hit an actual download, when I can feel comfortable to go ahead and say that thing out loud that I feel is a message, please come through and give me a chill across the back of my shoulders. Make my left hand. You decide. You get to decide what that physical confirmation is. You can also ask your guides, whoever the person is, if my child, if my father, if my mother, if my friend, if my husband or wife is here, can they please put a hand on my shoulder? And you will feel a sensation. So just for today, while the veil is thin, I want everybody to learn to take a deep breath. And with that second breath, when you inhale, you want to think about like filling that heart space with light and pushing it up out of the crown. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. You're connected. And from there, ask your guides, could the guide that's in charge of giving me physical confirmation, could the guide that's in charge of helping me connect with my crossed over loved ones, right? Like I know when my dad is around because I get a sensation on both sides of my arms, kind of feels like a hug or the way that my dad would hug me. And I know that is specifically him because that is a conversation I have had with my guides. Mediums are wonderful. I have friends that are mediums and I use them. Connie Jo has can do mediumships in her readings. But you are also able, maybe not specific sentences, maybe not feeling like you have a cell phone that says I want to dial up and have a conversation. But I constantly see when I'm doing live questions, is my mom with me? Is my dad with me? Is my child with me? They are. But me saying that isn't as great as you saying to your guides, how do I feel them? How do you feel about that, Connie Jo? Like what kind of physical sensations do you have as an agreement with your guides?
Well, and this is going to sound like, well, everybody gets this, but I get chills. I mean, I just get goosebumps. And I know that my guides are working with me, that they're here, that um, I know there's the presence. I've got it now. I've got chills going up my spine. I just
Mhm.
know. And so for me, and also for me, and this is also just so simple. I just ask. I just simply ask. Um, like I asked, what's your name to my main guide? And you know what? I think the most important thing is just to be open to what you hear
Mhm.
or feel, and don't push it away. Don't push it away.
I think that if you hear or see, this feels maybe a little easier because you will hear a name, you will hear. So I don't get my gifts like that. When I say I hear something, it's like a sentence appears.
Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of times I'll hold back and think, I'm not really hearing it though. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe this is just my own influence, my own 52 years of life experience, my thought processes, my earned knowledge, all of this. And then when I say it out loud, it gets confirmed by the other person.
Yes. Oh, Susie, another tip that, and I do this a lot, before I go to bed, I meditate on, um, like Susie might have asked me to meditate on something for her, or my clients for the next day. I'll
Mhm.
meditate and I ask spirit to give me messages, or show me, is there anything I need to know? And as you go to sleep, and especially, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're half asleep and you're half awake, but you're kind of getting things and you're not even sure if it's a dream or if it's real. But if you've already asked your guides to come in and help you while you
Then
sleep, you better believe it's real. So
I
I,
think that's so
I use
important. I think that's so important because a lot of us are like, please, I want a sign. Please let me know how this person is feeling. And we feel like nothing comes in. So, for somebody who connects really easily, sometimes for others that feel like, I don't know what confirmation feels like and what it doesn't, can almost feel frustrating, or it can feel dissuading, like maybe I'm just not that special. Maybe I just don't have these gifts. And so, one of the things I want to say is, you are that fucking special. You certainly are. And I think it's so important not to see like, I used to think my gifts were less than, because I had wonderful, beautiful friends that would hear or see. And I mean, see to the point where they could see in somebody else's house they've never been in. If Connie Jo has ever read for you and you hear and clear audience is coming through, she can almost speak in the cadence of that person she's never met. Right. So, like, then if you are a knower or a feeler, you may feel like, I'm not doing it right because I don't have those things. We all have specialties. We all have specialties. One of the things that I love doing dual sessions with, and if you're either on ConnieJoSkywalker.com or SusieEvolutionary.com, we both have the Skywalker Evolutionary where we work together. And then it's all the gifts. Is that I will feel, when I'm connected to Connie Jo, I will feel all of my gifts that I already feel access to. I will feel stronger. I will feel them more. They come in quicker, which God knows I'm always asking for. They come in quicker, and I believe that's Connie Jo's energy. And they come in stronger and just like so direct. And I think that that is amazing. And I want to say that, like, that energy is available to all of us. Like, you have a big team. The way that when Connie Jo and I connect, it's it's really helpful. I think for both of us. I can only speak for myself, but
absolutely.
but but that kind of a team is available to you all the time. You are just not yourself. You have an entire team. You have
Yeah.
an entire team. And I just want to remind everybody that, speaking of Connie Jo and her many gifts, she still has that flash sale until it's almost another 24 hours. But go onto ConnieJoSkywalker.com. It's right up at the top. It's her flash sale. Do you want to tell them what you have for the people, Connie Jo, as far as
Oh,
like?
absolutely. So it's 30-minute readings for $66, which is a really nice discount. And if you need Zoom, if you're in a foreign country or for whatever reason you need Zoom, I don't mind. I'm not going to charge extra for that. And if you would just like to try a reading, I have a 15-minute reading for $31, and I'm going to let it go through tonight because there's so many of you I would really love to connect with. And you may be hesitant and think, I don't know if I want to do that. Well, then you don't have to spend a whole lot of money to see whether you want to or not.
So the $31 for October 31st, that's, you can get one of those, but you can get as many as the half an hour ones. And I just want to say, I don't give out my personal number because I have water energy and a Pisces North Node, and I need nice boundaries so that I can function within my practice. So I always use Zoom for phone calls. We just do cameras off. So I think that's perfectly, yeah. So the last thing that I would like to give everyone, and then I want Connie Jo to give one last thing, and then she's got to run and I've got to run. But whether you can, and I would love to know what everybody, I see some people have told us they can feel and hear. So I would love to have everybody drop whether they feel and hear and see, or know and feel, whatever that is, that combination for you. I would love to have you ask your guides for physical confirmation. And also for the people that know or struggle with whether that's a download or acquired knowledge. I always think of, this is my third chakra. This is where downloads come in. This is where divine information come in. That is the third chakra. We all have it. It's a pineal gland. It's an actual physical gland right here. I think about the back of my head, where that is my library of knowledge. So when I have to distinguish something, I will ask them to stimulate this part of your third eye. And you can literally sit there and just think and hover and not touch. And you can get tingle out of that pineal gland. I invite everybody to try that. Just put your hand over that third eye and think about stimulating and say, guides, spirit, whoever you speak to, please stimulate that third eye, and you will feel a tingle. Once you have that, you can always distinguish, is this a third eye download, or is this just something I know because I know a lot of shit? And ask them to give a sensation in the back of your head. But while this veil is thin, watch this video again so that you can practice the breathing, figure out how to put the light in, push it out, ask the guides to do their very specific jobs. Whoever's in charge of making my messages as direct as possible, please help me with this. Whoever is in charge of making my downloads come in strong, they all have different jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a great time to practice. Yeah.
I would
That's
just
say,
yeah. When I hear things, okay, this is the difference for me. So I think everybody has to figure it out for themselves. Yes. But when I hear things, it's almost like it's coming from outside, not inside. When I see things, and this is the cool part about when I work with Susie, because I will see a whole scene about something that's fairly specific, and I won't have a clue in the world about what's going on with it or why I'm seeing this. But it will pertain to a specific client or someone. And then I say what I saw in my vision, and Susie immediately picks up on what it's about or what it has to do with.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But so I guess what I'm saying is, when you hear things, try to discern where that's coming from. Is that coming from your inner spirit or outside, it seems like, or is it just a thought? Because I tell you what, if I think I know the winning lottery numbers, it's just a thought. It's probably not spirit coming in.
Yeah.
So just think about that, how the thought comes in. Does it seem to come in from the inside in your spirit or the outside, or is it something you might have thought anyway? That's my tip.
Yeah. Also, Connie Jo just brought up a really big point when she said lottery numbers. People, if you feel like you cannot read for yourself or you're wrong, if you say, am I going to hear from this person before Friday or on Tuesday or whatever, and then you heard from them before or not on time, we don't read for ourselves very well because there is ego involved. There are desires. We are manifesting things. So
Mhm.
checking in on somebody else's energy because sometimes can be problematic when we have skin in the game. So it's very hard to read for yourself. So don't let not feeling like you could read for yourself be any kind of a deterrent that you will not read
Right.
accurately for others. Actually, people who read accurately for others often cannot read for themselves. It is
Mhm.
ConnieJoSkywalker.com. I'm going to put it right in here. And I think we're going to say goodbye to Connie Jo because she is
Yeah.
off to do readings. And then I will stay for a few minutes and answer any kind of questions. There we go. That's
Right.
ConnieJoSkywalker.com. And she's got a little menu, and you'll see the flash sale right away, and that's going for just another couple of hours, and she's amazing. And I would love to make this a series, but please leave me a comment, especially if you're replay viewers. Leave me a comment to let us know, because I would love Connie Jo, because it just comes so naturally to actually think about like how things come in. And I think that would really, because she would do better to help the people who see and hear than I can. So I would love to do part 2, maybe a part 3. We'll see.
You know what? Before I go, and I love all you guys. I hope you have an amazing day today, and I hope to meet some of you in a reading sometime soon. But I do want to say, I think that's why that we're all given, we all have gifts, and we can all access our guides. But I think we all have a little bit of a special gift, and that way we can all work together. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
the universe working together. So it's really cool. I love that. All right, I love you guys. See ya.
Bye, Connie Jo. All right. So, um, isn't she great? I'm so glad, Adva. We're gonna do more of these. We're really I have felt new levels of busy to the point where yesterday I was almost non-functional. But then I went because I have children and I have a small child, and Halloween is important even when you're an adult. So yesterday I saved and reserved every single ounce of energy I had to go take them to a really cool local farm by us where they had corn cannons and paintball and all kinds of outdoor activities, which is great because I really have to be careful. So we were able to be outside, keep our space, but we got pumpkins and all that. And we went to, if anybody's got a Tommy's car wash by them, FYI, they're all over the United States. Tommy's car wash. They do something that's so brilliant. It's called the Tunnel of Terror, and they have a haunted car wash, and it's so amazing. And that like they'll even get in the car with you like unexpectedly. Like I don't want to give away too much, but oh my god. So much fun, and you're in your car. So like, it's great, and they give a little bag of candy and you get your car washed. Hello. But when you're inside, it's all like lights. You can't see anything. And the next thing you know, there's like a face on your windshield. It's amazing, brilliant. But that's a national chain. I'm pretty sure they do it all over the place. So we went to do those things yesterday, but I've been so busy. So we kind of scrambled this in very early this morning, but we're going to do more lives together. We're going to schedule them more ahead of time so you guys all have more notice. But again, on this channel, I really, my channel is in the beginning stages. So I can't really tank it right now. And I want to be here for you guys. I'm not, I want the channel to be accessible to everybody. I want it to do well in numbers for that reason. But I'm more concerned in giving you guys what you want. So always make sure you're leaving me comments in the replay viewers, because the chat kind of is harder to clock. So when it's over, leave me comments of the things you want to see. I would love to do a deconstruction series where we deconstruct things together in a safe environment. Yeah. I wonder if it's the same. I wonder if Samantha's saying there's one in Florida near Panama City that does that. So I'm going to try to be gentle with myself while I continue to do videos, and schedule them ahead at the same time. I will find the sweet spot. Does anyone have any questions? That's a great question. And I saw somebody else that said that they know and feel and they have dreams. That is also me. Precognitive dreams. There's two things about dreams that I would like to talk about. One, the best thing to do, because we really, in that first 17 seconds, and if you've ever seen Abraham Hicks, she talks about that time before we're really fully awake is one of the best times to manifest, because for the same reason that Connie Jo spoke about anesthesia and what part of our brains are available while we're under, it's not the critical thinking part. We haven't started to think, oh my God, I have this to do today. I have this bill to pay. I've got to get up. I'm tired. I don't want to get up. We're not in that thought process yet. As soon as you feel that you are not fully in sleep, they used to say, keep a pen and paper. I mean, personally, take your phone and get into the notes section and just one eye awake. You don't have to write, like the more asleep you are, and speak into your phone your dreams. Start to keep a dream journal within the notes of your phone. Have your phone ready, and even before you go to sleep or when you have your alarm set, phones are pretty amazing. You can have a dual command: ring alarm, go right to notes section, and you can just pick it up and speak. When you have a precognitive dreams, yes, Nikki, that was my second point. My dreams are like, I'm in Walmart, there's an elephant, we're eating cotton candy, but it tastes like pickles, and now Oprah Winfrey is shopping with us. When I have a precog dream, when I have a download come in through dreams, it's like a movie and everything makes sense, and it's a very clear, nothing is nonsensical. And I've had this more than once. Maybe some things are symbolic, but that is where I will remote view, is in a dream. I once had a dream where it was a friend of mine who lived far away, and I had never been in their new house. And I hadn't spoken to them in a couple of weeks, and they were on the dating scene. And I was in their house putting dishes away, and I could clearly see the kitchen, but I had no idea what their kitchen looked like. And she was perfect, like a Stepford wife, perfect. And she had blonde bangs and blonde everything, and and every time I tried to make eye contact with her, a piece of her face would like break or crack or like go wonky. But she was putting away the dishes and cleaning the dishes, all looking perfect in a little apron. And my friend kept saying, see, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've always wanted. And I know that's what he always wanted. That part wasn't a surprise because he said it. I just want, this kind of person. That because he did a lot around the house with his last relationship, and she pretty much was like, thank you, can I have more money to shop, right? So he was looking for somebody that would be like an equal partner and do the dishes, but almost make it a romantic thing and have the music on. And he's saying like, look at this is exactly what I wanted, but every time I try to make eye contact with her, her face would fall apart, crack, something would be weird. I woke up, and I have to tell you, for the rest of that day, I was like not allowed to have thoughts. I was not, that overtook almost to the point where it felt like a nagging. Like if I didn't tell my friend this dream, like I would not be able to go throughout my day. It was giving me knots in my stomach, and it had nothing to do with me. So I listened, and I called my friend. And I said, I feel like somebody's going to be coming in the next couple of days. If they haven't already, 2 days ago, I had this dream. I want to say it was like 2 days before. I actually figured out, okay, yeah, I'm really supposed to tell them this because it seems so stupid. And this is not a person that believes in any of this. They're very religious and they don't believe in any of this. And as I described her, he sent a picture of a woman he had started dating 3 days ago. And she had just been putting dishes away in his cabinets. And he was sitting there thinking, this is what I've been waiting for. And she looks like that on top of it. But when he sent me a picture of this woman, it looked exactly like the woman in my dream. And even when I had the dream was like a day after that happened. And I said, I don't think that she is what she appears. And he did not want to hear that. And I said, I just have to tell you this because like I'm not able to function. I keep having that, it's almost like a little movie scene, and you'll know. And sure enough, she was not what she seemed. I've also had those dreams for people that I've been involved with that all of a sudden we're having a conversation, and verbatim a month later that conversation happens, and it's often a subject we've never spoken about. It could be a person that I didn't even know that person's name. It could be something that doesn't happen. Write down those dreams because honestly, you're probably missing a lot of confirmation that's happening in precognitive dreams. It wasn't cracking like a mask. It was just like, it's hard to explain, but it was like when cracks begin in a wall, they were growing. But none of those dreams have ever been wrong. But until I started saying them to people, until I started to, that was years ago. Until, as far as your comment of covert, no, I never wanted to know more than that. It wasn't my, that was his, all I'm supposed to do is give the information, and then they're supposed to do with it what they do with it. But I bet you any money that you're having precognitive dreams if you know and feel. Especially if you're doubting your knowings, especially if you're doubting the claircognizant abilities. It will come in as a dream. And it will, that dream, I wasn't even that close with that person. I was just their ear, about their dating life, which I was for a lot of people. And so it was just weird that it like overtook my life. But what I realize now is that was there so that it would bug me enough to call him and tell him and to get the confirmation. The message was for him, but the message from my guides for me was bigger, that I had to trust my visions, that I had to trust what I was feeling. There was no other way to make it make sense. It had to be some extreme thing for me. And it had to be somebody that I hadn't spoken to in weeks. It wasn't my best friend and I knew everything about them. What's interesting is in a year later, I was in Florida where that person lived, and visiting my mom. And I took a day to just stop in like that new house. And that kitchen was the kitchen from my dreams. I'd never seen a picture of it. It was exactly shaped, exactly everything. The fixtures, the colors, everything was the same. So I was remote viewing. That was right before I started doing this full time. Right before. Because yes, it was a message for him. And yes, it helped him make a decision when her behavior, he didn't stay in as long as he normally would when her behavior got ratchety. But the message was really for me. And that's what I'm trying to say to you guys. I'm not saying that to like show off what I can do. I'm saying that because it was until I couldn't function without getting this message. And I've had other people call me and say, or text me and go, I have to give you this message because I quite frankly, it's in the way of me doing everything else I do. When I had friends that were seers. And sometimes it took years for those to come in. But it was like so important. But for this one, this was about my guides giving me the message that I have to believe myself. That makes sense? Did it help him a little bit? Sure. Did he still think I was crazy? Sure. Did I feel less crazy? Hell yeah. Did I have more confidence in what those visions were? Hell yeah. And if you don't have a big thing like that where it is nagging at you to tell someone, absolutely set your alarm and set your phone. Go look it up on TikTok. Go look it on YouTube. Whatever kind of phone you have, there's some kind of video telling you how to set dual commands so that your alarm goes off and your notes open up. And here's the thing. If you're half sleep talking or you say some crazy shit or it just picks up the TV because you don't say anything that morning, you'll erase it. Start recording your dreams. Yeah, and I mean, I said it out loud because I remember thinking like this was not a person that I was worried was going to look at me differently because they already the ship had sailed. We were never going to be a couple. That was never and I was finally getting to that really fiercely liberating part in my life where other people's opinions of me were none of my business. And if I could not adapt the idea that other people's opinions of me were none of my business, I could not do that. I could not do this. I could not have the sessions I have. I certainly couldn't put it all out on social media. And I have really special, beautiful people in my life that can't get with what I do because of religion, because of whatever. They love me, but we don't interact as much. I love them. They love me. We're still there for each other's kids. But the regular conversations, those aren't there. They just don't know how to have a conversation with me about any of this. And this will become a great part of your existence, a large part of your existence. Sometimes, I don't think I'd ever really be someplace while somebody's face was falling apart or showing cracks is the way, right? So that little part didn't make sense. So, I mean, you're going to have to take some of it. We talk about throwing out the baby with the bath water. That's a big part of spirituality. I was having a conversation about Dolores Cannon, who I love. And I think that there's such great brilliance, findings. I mean, we're talking about years and years of hypnosis studies. There are quantified studies in what she's talking about. I think her philosophy that it all goes back to love is brilliant. I'm not on board with the new earth. I'm not on board with the idea that if we ascend and people that we love don't ascend, that we leave them behind to suffer. Because that innately would make us, just the way that Connie Jo talked about the things that blocked her gifts, that would block your gifts. There'd be a resistance to ascend if you thought, well, what if one of my children doesn't ascend? What if one of my children suffers with addiction and they don't ascend? And then I'm going to leave them behind? So I think 90% of what she says is one of the biggest blessings to all of us. That new earth thing. Nothing in my ethical practice of there's no hierarchy in spirituality allows me to embrace a theory where we are struck in panic and fear of leaving those we love behind. Nope. Yeah. So, not to make this a Dolores Cannon show, but my point is that, as they say in Star Wars, search yourself about what you know to be true. We can get no. See, I don't believe that. And you're one of the best people, April, that I know. And you're awake. I'm talking about people who aren't awake. I have so many people that I love that really don't subscribe to any of this and aren't what we would consider awake. I don't think they're going to be left behind to suffer. How are we deconstructing religion that tells us we're going to burn in hell for being gay or being this or being that, but then also subscribe to a new spirituality that tells us some people get left behind and suffer? How is that different? It's not. That's what I'm saying. You will deconstruct what you have to deconstruct. Think about what feels real and let it and explore it. One of the things while we're trying to understand our gifts, get in touch with our gifts and feel confident in them, that can screw us up is one, looking at other people the way that they're doing it and the confirmation that they're getting and feeling like, I'm pretty sure I'm not that accurate, so I won't say anything. It's going to look different. How Connie Jo works looks completely different than how I work. Don't look at somebody else and think that I'm supposed to work like that. The other thing that can really trip us up is subscribing or limiting ourselves to one person's way of, this is the only way to practice. This is the only way to do anything. I think that I think that there are people out there who are spiritual coaches that are amazing. And I think that there are people out there, spiritual coaches, that are really in their ego. And they don't mean to be. And they're not bad people. And, there are people, let me say this, there are people who have real gifts that are also in their ego. What do I always say? Everything in life is a Venn diagram. They have real gifts. Some of their techniques work. they're also an ego, right? And so what happens is when those people are like, this is the way to do it. If you want to learn, I'm the only one who can teach you, that kind of thing. And we listen to them and it doesn't work for us. Then we go looking at somebody else and how they're doing it. And they're saying, just avoid people who have that ego driven practice where there's only one way, because we all know, like I'm going to say Connie Jo is going to be able to help people who can see and hear better than I can. Of course you can. If you need somebody to do like spiritual hacking for you, I'm going to send you to Cat and Boots. If you need like a evidentiary medium, somebody who's going to give you details and confirmation and feedback, and not just be able to feel around the energy of somebody who's passed, I can feel around the energy of somebody's past. If you're looking for specific messages and stuff like that, I'm going to send you to my friend Lana or my friend Kate. If you find a spiritual person that's telling you that they do everything and they do everything well and you only need them and they're one-stop shopping, you know, some people do have skills like that. But if they're saying that you don't need, look no further. This is the only book you'll ever need to read. I'm the only guru. These are not the droids you're looking for. I don't love that. I think we're going to get back. Nikki just said, my family on my mom's side has it. You know, I think we're going to get back to that. I think the age of Capricorn, I think the last 200 years took out, depending on what culture you are, but any kind of like white Eurocentric culture, I think that they were taught to shame any gifts, you know, holy water it away. There was such shame, and so I know my mom was gifted because she used to make predictions about people or know who bad people were, but it took her a very long time to even get on board with what I was doing, because she was taught that was of the devil, that was shameful, and but she has all these stories where it's very clear, and I believe my grandmother was, but that was all hidden. So I had to find it on my own against the grain. I think we're going to come back into a time where like my kids know that I have they're going to be like, oh yeah, my mom. And then if they get stuff, they're not going to blink at it or feel like it's shameful. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Yeah, get your chart done for sure. The gifts are in the chart. But also don't listen to things that say like, oh, only water signs have gifts. Connie Jo is a Capricorn with Sag and Aquarius placements. So don't ever believe that like one sign has gifts more than another. The aspects are going to tell you more, but also like everybody's got the capability. Your chart could tell you how you get to those gifts, how you more easily access them. So I'm going to let everybody go for the afternoon. I hope that you will do the breathing, talk to your guides, and figure out what it is you want. Maybe you don't want your left side to tingle. Maybe you don't want it to feel like it's across your back. Maybe you want your nose to feel like it gets hot. Whatever you want, ask your guide, whichever one of my guides. Connect with them, say hello. Like, hey guys, how are you doing? I talk to my guides like they're my friends. I would say, you're the real MVPs, keeping me humble, giving me Bugs Bunny clips as a confirmation. Connie Jo actually does numerology. I dabble in it. She's way stronger in it. You should grab one of those flash sale readings. It's like $66 for half an hour with her, and she can do a lot in half an hour. But yeah, ask your guides. Whatever is comfortable for you. Maybe you don't want something to give you the chills. Maybe that's a trauma response for something else. You know, your body wants to keep you safe. You do not have to do or say or ask exactly how I ask or anyone else asks. You will find your way. I promise you that you will. Well, I'm sure, Alien, you and I could have a huge because haunted houses don't scare me. I have very funny stories in very trippy haunted houses where they're literally annoyed with me because I won't get scared. It's funny. You guys tell me what you want to see next. I feel like at some point too, I want to start have like guest readers so you guys can practice in a safe space, right? And I'm sure people would love to have you pull cards for them. So email me, go to susieevolutionary.com. There's a contact at the bottom. Go check out Connie Jo's new website. It's great. She also has a contact. But like, if you're interested in joining me to do like a guest tarot spot, I want to do like a spotlight Sunday once a month. Then let me know if because I'll start making a list of people who would want to come on and practice their gifts, knowing that it's a practice session. And if you know me, if this is your first time watching, let me explain something. This is a safe community. We have fun, we question things, but nobody is messing with you. So if you want to come on here, but you're afraid of feedback, or you see how like harsh the internet could be, and you don't want to go live on TikTok or by yourself someplace, you can come on here and nobody will be allowed to be unkind as you are practicing. It will be an understood thing where you are practicing your gifts. And I would like this to be a space where people can feel like they can do that. Yeah, email me so I can like organize it. My Virgo rising wants to have labels and folders and not have to pick through all of the comments. Quite honestly, because that's time I could be doing other things that could be more forward for the community. Yeah. So when I tell you come on, I don't mean like come on and then like have people lambast you for like that's not accurate. I don't feel that way. We're not gonna do that here. All right. Yeah. So yeah, email me, let me know. And go check out Connie's website and her flash sale. Take time to like get jiggy with it with your guides. Seriously. Nobody is more in your corner or thinks you'll slap you on the ass, call you Sally Fantastic than your spiritual team. You have a whole team. You're never by yourself, but you have to ask them to do things. A lot of times their hands are tied. So ask them to do things. Ask them to show you. And like, I get the blue feather thing. I'm not saying that's a bad idea. Every time you see a blue feather, that's going to be your mom or whatever. Like, that's great. But like, when mom's around, make it my left shoulder. When dad's around, make it my right shoulder. When my child's here, make my like whatever it is. Also, I'm just going to say this. It's Halloween. And if I've sometimes worked with people who've had passed over children, and then because of my energy, sometimes I've had those spirits like follow me home, as I say. Look for things to be moved around. Children are still children and they want to play. So if things are moved around, and you have a past, like they're there probably all the time. You probably think you're crazy and misplacing things. But if things are getting moved around, like I'm not crazy, my deodorant was right there and now it's gone. And then you find it, and I'm telling you, just know that if you've had to endure a child passing and things go missing, they're still trickster playful. They're still playful. They're still, yeah. All right. All right, guys. I love you. Know you love you. And I mean that. Go do it. Go eat something. Give yourself credit for something. Next time, maybe we'll talk about how we ground for people who need to ground in order to feel connected. Have a great day. Have a happy Halloween. Send me pictures of whatever you dressed up as, or your kids. Send them to me on my email.